What's up, everybody? This is Kennedy Curley here with Sea Lunch Sports. We've got Hayden Klinkheimer over here, and unfortunately, Ian is out today. But
Yes.
we've got still a lot of fun things that we want to talk about and entertain you with. So, to begin this podcast, we would like to go ahead and start with our analysis of the All-NBA rookie team that just came out today. So the list consists of the first team is Luka Doncic, Trae Young, DeAndre Ayton, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Marvin Bagley. And the second rookie team is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Did I say that right, Hayden?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Colin Sexton, Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson, and Kevin Hurt. Do you know how to say that? I don't know.
Kevin
Huerter.
Yeah,
We're going to
Huerter.
refer to him as Kevin from the Hawks.
Kevin.
So to start this off, I guess the question that we'll go ahead and ask is, did the media get the votes right for this?
The only one that they got wrong was Luka Doncic being on the All-NBA first team.
Get off of my podcast. You even created this podcast. I'm taking this over.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, the first team, I have no issues with that. I think the first two listed are easily had the best two rookie seasons out of any of the first team. I think Jaren Jackson had a better rookie season than DeAndre Ayton, but DeAndre Ayton obviously put up better numbers. And then Bagley, I feel like until the All-Star break, I would have put him on the second team, but then he had a really good post-All-Star break, especially as the Kings continued to pick up their pace. That's going to favor him really well. The second team is where Colin Sexton, I don't know, I'm not super high on him. I know, he put up a lot of points. He actually shot the three ball a lot better than I thought he was going to.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of it was just kind of empty scoring. He didn't play make at all as a point guard. That's an issue for me. I like Shai. I like Landry Shamet. Mitchell Robinson reminds me of Tristan Thompson, but a better defender.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can develop, or if he can kind of, fall into the Marvin Bagley type, at least offensive production, like running the floor and rolling to the rim points, I think he can be a productive player. And Huerter's a good shooter who actually is a better playmaker than a lot of people give him credit for, just because Trae Young had the ball in his hand so much. But I think I'm pretty solid on the picks. You could argue a couple on the all rookie second team a little bit, but other than that, I think I'm pretty solid.
Okay. So my issue is not necessarily with how they voted, because I understand that it goes by position. You have two guards, two forwards, and a center, someone who's eligible to be a center. So Marvin Bagley could play forward or center.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why they put him there. I would actually say I'm a little different when it comes to Colin Sexton. I think that he really surprised me as a rookie. I'm with you as well. I didn't think that he was going to shoot nearly as well as he did from three. And looking at his
40%, right?
I know, yeah, that was something he wasn't incredible at in college, but apparently he worked on that quite a bit. And it wasn't like he, did that over a course of, half a season and got injured, played all 82 games. So I'm looking at his numbers at 16.7 points per game, 3 rebounds a game, 3 assists per game. You're right about the assists; it could be higher, but overall, I'm a little bit higher on his rookie season than I am Marvin Bagley. Mm-hmm. But like I said, Marvin Bagley, as the system is set right now, should be the guy to be the center in that position. Mm-hmm. But my biggest problem is more so with the system, and I think it really should just be the 5 best players.
I agree.
And if they voted Bagley still then I guess I wouldn't have as much of a problem. But I think that Colin Sexton, personally, I think he had a better season. I'm also with you on Mitchell Robinson. I'm actually pretty high on him, and I was high on him coming into his rookie season. He was so I really wanted the Mavs to get him actually because we needed some post defense help, and he provided just that this season. I think didn't he lead the league in blocks or
per minute? Yeah, he was number 2 behind Miles Turner, but he only played like 26 minutes a game or something like that.
Yeah. And so I'm really high on Mitchell Robinson and what he could bring down low. But I'm good with the Mavs having gotten Jalen Brunson, which I guess you could make a case that he could be on that list, but I don't care enough about the second team to really have a problem with that. Also, Huerter is a center. Actually, no, he's not. He's a
shooting guard.
Is he a shooting guard?
Yeah, shooting guard, small forward.
So how did okay, they have him at small forward. Okay, I was about to say because you have Gilgeous-Alexander and Sexton.
Technically on the second team, I don't think it has to be by position because technically on the second team they have 4 guards.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Some of them can play the forward/wing position.
Yeah, Huerter can play the 3, and Shamet, I guess, if they needed him to, could play the 3. I really like Landry Shamet.
Yeah. I guess what they could have done was they could have put Trae Young and Colin Sexton as the guards in the first team, and then Luka at small forward because he played both guard and forward. But maybe
you're that high on Colin. I don't know.
I really liked him. I thought he had a really good first season, mostly because of his 3-point shooting. And maybe there's a little bias of my expectations for him weren't super high this season, but I think personally, I just think that he did a little bit better than Marvin Bagley. I think Marvin Bagley, I guess the rebounding helped him quite a bit, but percentage-wise, I thought he was okay.
I would say, I think if we would have been, if these lists would have been at the All-Star break, I think you could have argued, switch Bagley with Sexton. But I don't know. I thought Bagley had a good second half of the season. And I think it's on a team that could have potentially made the playoffs. So I think that helped.
That's true.
Like I said, Colin Sexton, I just felt like was a lot of empty scoring.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that Marvin Bagley going forward, I think I'm higher on him than I am Colin Sexton. And actually Marvin Bagley was someone, and I'm glad I was not in the draft room for this at all. It wouldn't have mattered because he was taken already, but I actually wanted the Mavs him over Luka. That wasn't a knock on Luka. I didn't know much about him, but I was just pretty high on Marvin Bagley. So maybe my bias is a little bit on my expectation level of the two. I still do think that Colin Sexton had just a slightly better season. Going forward, like I said, still Marvin Bagley, but that's pretty much, I guess, my only on that matter. I think everything else they got right.
And I get where you're coming from, for sure, because Bagley was definitely, especially going or pre All-Star break, he was rather ineffective. But I think I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends. Yep.
Yeah. No. Well, we can go ahead and move on to the next topic. Then it's actually in a similar path where we're going to go ahead and talk about the All NBA teams. Now they haven't, but I think last year it was about this time. I think it was May 24th when they were officially announced, and so let's go ahead and try to beat that real quick and make our own predictions. And third All NBA teams. I'm really excited about this.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very, very excited. So excited. All right. So this is not what I think they will be, right? This is what I would have them.
Ooh.
Or is it, are we predicting what people will vote?
That's actually a good question. I didn't really even think about that, but I think we could go ahead and I think I did based on what they'll. Actually, no.
What you
Let's
feel?
pretend like we're voters. We are voters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. All right. So I'm starting.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead. Sorry, I heard you say I'm sorry, and I was like, what?
I am starting. My All NBA third team. I have Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
I have Damian Lillard.
Interesting.
I have Kawhi Leonard. I have Blake Griffin and Anthony Davis.
Interesting. Okay.
Should I go ahead and give my reasoning?
No, I'm gonna go ahead and do that actually.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and say so. I have Kyrie Irving as well.
Mm-hmm.
Once we agree on, I have Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, and Blake Griffin in my third.
Mm-hmm.
And Kawhi Leonard, I would actually say you could make an argument for him being one of the better small forwards in the league this year. But
he didn't play enough for me.
Didn't play enough.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Davis didn't either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my other guard is Bradley Beal.
Okay. All right.
My center is LaMarcus Aldridge.
Interesting.
I'll be honest with you. As soon as you said Anthony Davis, I thought, okay, yeah, that you could definitely make an argument for him over Aldridge, obviously. But I'm also factoring in games played a little bit here.
I agree.
The whole Anthony Davis spiel obviously took him out of the end of the season. LaMarcus Aldridge played pretty much the entire season. And if LaMarcus Aldridge didn't have that great of a season, then I would have probably put him out of it and put Anthony Davis. But I thought that it was enough to where I could make an argument to say, okay, LaMarcus Aldridge.
I agree.
So that's my third team. You could go on with your second team.
I agree. Interesting. All right. So my second team is Bradley Beal.
Interesting. I didn't think you liked Bradley Beal all that much.
Bradley Beal, Westbrook, which kind of kills me to say, but LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid.
Okay. So real quick, tell me why. So I'm pretty sure that we talked about Bradley Beal earlier in the season, and you weren't super high on him yourself. But what has anything changed, or is it just based on? Tell me.
I think it's just based on the fact that John Wall was injured or completely terrible for most of the season. And the only reason, the Wizards were even semi-relevant is because of Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
I like his ability to score. I like his ability to shoot. I think he's an underrated playmaker because I feel like a lot of times when John Wall is on the floor, Bradley Beal kind of resorts to the spot up, John Wall has the ball in his hands a lot of times. But the reason that I was considering switching him with Damian Lillard is because I feel like Bradley Beal should be a much better defender than he is.
Okay.
And I feel like obviously, Dame gets more credit because, they were the third seed. But I still think Bradley Beal had the better season, not playoffs, obviously, but the better season. So that's why I have Bradley Beal at second team.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, I have him third team pretty much for every reason, but I did switch him with Damian Lillard. So our second teams are actually probably going to be about similar. I've got Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, LeBron, and Joel Embiid. And, I think personally right now I would put I don't want to say Kevin Durant's the best player in the world, but I would say, actually, I might as well just say that because my opinion this season was if I were to start a team just for one season, Kevin Durant is the guy that I think I would start with based on his skill set. But I don't think that when it gets to the first list, I can tell you a little bit more about why I think that there were other guys better than him as far as production this season. But I think Kevin Durant certainly deserved second team, and I don't know, I was a little higher on Damian Lillard than Bradley Beal this season. LeBron James, obviously, he played as many games as Anthony Davis, and I have him at the second seed, so I want to address that real quick. To me, there's no one really close to what LeBron was able to do. Kawhi Leonard was the only close guy to really match with LeBron at his position. And I think that we've only really seen – I looked at a stat earlier today. There's only been 16 players who've played less than 55 games to make an All-NBA team. So I was sitting there to myself thinking, okay, what is there anyone who really deserves – based on their season to be in the All-NBA team over LeBron? And I couldn't think of 6 guys better, but I could think of 3 guys who maybe deserved it a little over Anthony Davis personally. And so that's why I put LaMarcus Aldridge there over Anthony Davis. I put LeBron on the second team. So that's kind of where I come from on the second team. But first team, I guess we can go ahead and move on to that. Ours might even be the same, actually.
I'm guessing ours are the same.
Probably is. This team is pretty easy.
Yeah, I have Steph, Harden, Paul George, Giannis, and Jokic.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
Now, I've also been on record saying that I think Joel Embiid is better than Jokic, and I still believe that. But it came down to a few things. One, Jokic played more games, so you're seeing a theme here that I'm factoring in games played a little bit. And the other thing was, actually, no, I think that was pretty much it because Embiid, in my opinion, he's a better scorer. I think he's a better rebounder, better defender. And, Jokic is a better playmaker with passing, and I think his steals are a little bit higher. Maybe a slightly higher field goal percentage and free throw percentage.
Stroke.
Yeah, their percentages from 3 were actually pretty similar.
Really?
They were, yeah. Interestingly enough, but if I were to choose one guy who I wanted to shoot more, I'd probably choose Jokic. But personally, I think Embiid is better. But because he missed like 20 games this season, I have to give the tiebreaker to, because it was close. I think he's better, but it's close. I'd have to give the tiebreaker to Jokic. Also, you have to factor in, I'm pretty sure that they had the better record than Philadelphia, so I'm going to give them that.
Yeah, mine's pretty easy. I've also been on record saying that, in my opinion, Jokic is the best big man in the NBA. So that part, I wish I would see Embiid play inside out more. I feel like, he's so strong and so skilled around the basket that I feel like he has a tendency to drift out too much as opposed to playing inside first, and then, you can space the floor. But, definitely the better defender, definitely the better rebounder. I think he has the higher ceiling because I think, Jokic is not ever going to beat you with athleticism. And I feel like Embiid is, we see him like go coast to coast with the ball. And yes, Jokic does that too, but Jokic is more like not necessarily like quickness, more like because people are afraid of his passing ability. So yeah, and then Steph is Steph.
Then you have 3 MVP candidates.
Yeah.
George, who played phenomenal defense.
Yeah.
And both him and Giannis are Defensive Player of the Year candidates as well, I'm pretty sure.
I agree.
Yeah, so that they're both finalists for that. Harden's in the MVP discussion, and then the other two, I just think that was a pretty easy group in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely the easiest. I would say the easiest out of any of the three.
Yeah, and I think Steph Curry is clearly the best point guard in the league. At least we're seeing that in the playoffs now, but I think in the season he was too.
Yeah.
He averaged more points a game than Kevin Durant, his teammate, who many people are saying is the best player in the world. I guess I'm saying that too. So Steph Curry, I think he had to be in there. The only one that I was kind of a little bit hung up on was Jokic versus Embiid, but I explained that to you already. So, yeah.
Well, just going to go on record and make sure everyone is clear. Kennedy believes Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. That is not my statement. So I just want to separate myself from that blasphemy.
Okay. I also want to make a statement as well. It's subject to change because I think it's actually pretty close. I think that you have Kevin Durant, Giannis is up there, obviously LeBron's still up there, and dark horse would be Kawhi, but I think that that group of small forwards has been really incredible this season.
I agree.
Which leads us actually to our next discussion where we're doing a tier list. So we have 5 tiers. We have a tier of superstars. Then we have our tier A, B, C, and D. We should do 4 tiers because the 5th tier is once you kind
everyone else,
can figure out the 5th tier. But list a few names. I'll just give you a little bit of a glimpse of what kind of players are in it. But we'll do 4 tiers.
Yes.
To start it off, we can go ahead and start with our superstar tier, which will be a lot of guys that we just mentioned. So, do you want me to start, or do you want you to start?
You can go ahead. Okay. I've started the last 2.
Okay, sounds good. So to start it off, I have 6 guys in my superstar tier. I almost had 7, but I'm going with 6. And that list consists of Steph Curry, James Harden, LeBron, Kawhi, Kevin Durant, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And my reason for that, the way I kind of define a superstar is there's no one who does what you do. So Steph Curry, for example, no one shoots like he does.
Yeah.
There's not a shooter in the league who can do what Steph Curry does.
There's not a shooter ever.
And I'll take it a step further. There's not a person who can shoot as well as Steph Curry who can also create their shot as well as Steph Curry. So to me, that's what separates him. His combination of shot creation and just shot efficiency, it's unmatched. Yeah. James Harden, his step back is the best in the league. Doncic might get there at some point, but his step back is elite. He's elite at getting to the free throw line. His handles are great, and he can create for his teammates. Of course, LeBron is a top 2 player in NBA history, and he's still playing like a top 2 player in NBA history, just minus obviously being injured. And then Kawhi, I'm honestly convinced Kawhi doesn't have any weakness. He can do pretty much everything. He can defend. He's clutch. He can handle. He can get to the rim. He's so balanced. I don't think there's a balanced player in the league quite like Kawhi.
I agree.
Has the best pull-up, and then Giannis is the most dominant paint player. That's why I call him the Greek god of the paint, because he is a god. And that's my group.
So I agree with all of them except for one.
Oh, gosh.
And, not necessarily the highest on this player, as I'm sure most people know. I like to give my brother especially a lot of crap about this. But to me, I have 5 in my superstar. I have Steph Curry, LeBron James, Giannis.
Thank
Kevin
God.
Durant,
I thought you were going to say
Durant.
Wasn't going to be in there.
Oh, no. Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard.
So James Harden isn't. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
James Harden is not a superstar. James Harden is not a superstar. Sorry. Yes, awesome. You can travel every time you step back and hook your arm and get to the free throw. Yes, you're a great regular season offensive player. But when you go to the playoffs And time and time and time and time again, you lose not only to teams that you should beat. For example, a couple years ago when they were defeated by the Spurs. The Spurs. And then last year, you're up 3-2 at home against the Golden State Warriors. And you need one good game. Yes, you don't have your buddy next to you, Chris Paul. Awesome. So as a superstar, you need one good game to go and beat probably the greatest team ever assembled. And you can't do it in 2 tries. And both games you struggle shooting. Mm-hmm. And then you come this year and you start out of the gate slow. Yes, awesome. You beat Kobe Bryant's record of whatever many points in a game and how many straight games. Awesome. You're a great regular season player. And then you get to the playoffs and, you beat Utah, who's really Donovan Mitchell and everyone else. And even in that series, you didn't shoot great. You didn't play great. And you get a chance at redemption against the team that knocked you out last year without, I don't think Kevin Durant is the Warriors' best player, but a lot of people think Kevin Durant is the Warriors' best player. Mm-hmm. And you can't get it done. So to me, at a certain point, you got to stop giving a guy credit until he shows he can perform.
So I don't think James Harden's career has been perfect. I think that there are things in that statement and those statements that you said that I completely agree with. I think that, to me, this year, they should have at least been able to have gotten to Game 7 without KD in the first game. But when it comes down to it for me, I think that James Harden has been the only player who could really give the Warriors a threat to make it to the championship. No one else in the Western Conference was ever going to give the Warriors problems. Everyone's freaking out about how they swept the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers weren't going to beat the Warriors. We all knew that. You and I knew that. We both knew that. We thought maybe – actually, no, there's really no other team. The only team that anyone gave a chance this season to beat the Warriors was the Rockets, and that was only because of James Harden. My opinion of him, I don't like the way he plays. I think that he's not a very good defender. I think he flops too much, and I think he gets away with a lot of travels. But I also don't think that he has quite enough to beat a team like the Warriors on his side. But time and time again, he at least makes it a battle. Last year, I think that they probably should have beat them without Chris Paul. But overall, I think that the body of work that James Harden has done, I think that he's proven to be one of the best scorers in the league and one of the best playmakers in the league. But that's just my opinion. I would definitely agree with you in that I think that of my 6, James Harden is the lowest. Mm-hmm. If I was going to cut someone off, it would be James Harden.
Oh yeah, I mean he's at the top of my A list. I mean okay. I'm not like delusional. I mean he's a fantastic offensive player. I just don't think his style can ever translate to successfully defeating a team like the Warriors, for example.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can go ahead and move on to our A tier, our second tier. Mm-hmm. My tier consisted of Kyrie Irving, Westbrook, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, Paul George, Anthony Davis, Jokic, and Embiid.
Interesting.
From a moment, I thought about Anthony Davis in tier 1, but there hasn't been enough of a body of work for him.
I agree.
He does put up great numbers, and he's gifted in a lot of ways, but I don't think he's a tier 1 guy.
I agree.
That are just like him. But he's great.
Yeah. Ooh, mine's a lot smaller than that. I have Paul George. I have Jokic. I have Embiid. I have Anthony Davis. And I have, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I don't have the 3 guards.
Westbrook.
Yeah, Westbrook, Kyrie, and Lillard. If you would have asked me before the season, I think I would have put Kyrie in there and maybe Westbrook.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Okay. So I guess this is the way I see this tier. This is what my mind went to in terms of what defines a tier 2. So tier 1, I think you put that player on any team and they're a really good playoff team. They should be a contender, and they should these my tier 1 guys were guys who I expect to be in the MVP conversation every season. My tier 2 guys I expect these guys to be like they're all-star locks if they're playing healthy. And so I figured for me, Russell Westbrook's an all-star lock, Damian Lillard is an all-star lock, and Kyrie Irving is. If you put any of these guys on a team, I think for the most part, with average, adequate help, I think that they are. I wouldn't necessarily call them a contender, but I would call them a solid playoff team who could maybe advance a round or two. They're lucky, and so that's kind of why I put Damian Lillard in that group. Russell Westbrook, we need to see more from him in the playoffs, but I think that he's too dynamic, and also I think he goes under that category of all-star lock. And Kyrie Irving, he's a guy who, for as much as he kind of disappointed a little bit this season, and the Celtics did too. I think that Kyrie Irving, if you stick him on a team like the Celtics, which had adequate help, no other superstars or all-stars really, they were still a contender for the most part. They just play well together, and that wasn't all on him. And so that's kind of why I had those 3 in my group. But yeah, I'm interested. I kind of want to know what your reasoning for not having him.
And if I were to choose any of the 3 guards to put in that group, it would be Russell Westbrook, which I know is surprising coming from me. Like you said, he's dynamic, and he's definitely an all-star lock.
Yeah.
Just because of the numbers he puts up. And he really, he has fairly good regular seasons. I'm not the highest on his shooting ability, but you're right, he's dynamic. And, he does a lot of things for them that I think a lot of people overlook in terms of him just because, he's had some playoff struggles.
Yeah.
I'm not as low on him as I think, Ian is. Because I think Ian's really low on him. But for me, Kyrie really, really, really disappointed me. Even before he left Cleveland, I was always kind of on the same, love level as LeBron. I definitely thought he could become a really, really, really good basketball player. And I think he is, talent-wise, a really, really good basketball player. But leadership ability, I think, plays into,
that's fair.
Kind of how I don't think you can make the jump from A to S just because of leadership ability. But for me, separating B and A is, a lot of these guys are really, really talented. But for me, it's a lot of intangible type stuff. Leadership ability, making your teammates around you better.
Okay.
But then again, I feel like I'm a little biased with that because, my boy is LeBron. So I want to give Kyrie the benefit of the doubt, and I want to, kind of recognize that it wasn't everything. I think him going to his own team wasn't everything he thought it was going to be. And so I think that kind of threw him off a little bit. And then you add in his playoff struggles where, he had, more misses than points.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But like I said, if I were to put anyone in the A list out of those three guards, it'd be Russell Westbrook, which is surprising coming from me.
That really does surprise me, Hayden.
I know. I
never thought I would hear you say a good thing about
I know. But
Ian in where he is right now probably cringed a little on the inside because he,
I know.
Somehow just I never thought I'd hear that, but
I know.
I guess moving on to tier 3 or tier B. So I've got this one. This is where it gets bigger.
Yeah.
Me. This is my list of guys who, if they're your best player, you might be. You're probably not in a great position. You're on the fringe of the playoffs, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But having them as a piece on that team is a really good thing.
Yeah.
And I will say, two of the guys I have are, I would say, probably more role players than they are stars. So I'll preface with that. But everyone else, I think, is a for the most part, a primary player or capable of being a primary player, but they need other people to make that really relevant. And so I'll go ahead and start with the list. I've got Kemba Walker, Ben Simmons, D'Angelo Russell, Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. We've got CJ McCollum, Jimmy Butler, Drew Holiday. This is going to get long. Lou Williams, Victor Oladipo. Then I've got DeMar DeRozan. I've got Brogdon. He's one of the role players we're talking about.
I got Brogdon on there.
Anyone who's listening obviously knows how high we are on Brogdon. Yeah. And I've been really high on him for a while. But then after that, I've got Doncic, who I think could emerge as a tier A, maybe even a superstar guy at some point.
For sure.
He's not an all-star lock this season, which is why I had him off. But he probably
at the very least he'll be an A.
Yeah, I think he will.
Because how he affects everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, I've got Chris Middleton. I've got Tatum.
Okay. Yep.
Tatum is an interesting one because I wasn't super high on him this season, but I think going forward, especially if Kyrie is off, he's capable of being that guy who can be the playmaker for the team that they need.
Yep.
But I don't think he's an incredible off-ball guy, but I think that he's a really, really good on-ball guy with the ball in his hands. Then I've got Tobias Harris, Blake Griffin, Draymond Green, Kristaps Porzingis, Karl Anthony Towns, LaMarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gobert, DeMarcus Cousins, and Nikola Vucevic.
So I have all those guys except Lou Will, which kind of hurts me a little bit because I really like Lou Will, but it's hard for me to put, I guess, a sixth man into that type of list.
Do you have Brogdon and Draymond Green?
I have both, actually. Yes, definitely Brogdon.
Yeah.
Draymond, as I was doing my list, it hurt a little bit to write that name in there because I'm so hard on him. But it's not because I don't think he's a solid, to me, he's the second most important piece on that Warriors team. And I think he's showing it now that Kevin Durant has not been there. But for me, the issue with Draymond is I feel like people give him too much credit.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a knock on his skill level, what he does for that team. Obviously, he's a yearly Defensive Player of the Year contender, especially now that, he's talked all about, he lost all this weight and he's better in shape. We've seen the real dog come back in him. But yeah, I have Draymond, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Definitely Brogdon.
For the same reason. Sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
I wanted to mention that I I think Draymond Green is the type of guy who people are really, really high on him, or they think he's really overrated. And I think that it actually might be somewhere in the middle where he's actually really important to his team. We talk about him a lot more so than other guys who are like him, but he also is really important to his team.
I agree.
I think that we've seen that obviously at least in the last round, and I think we've seen that even in the last few years. Honestly, the fact that people are making the case that Draymond Green's one missed game could have possibly changed the 3-1 comeback for LeBron. I'm not saying I buy that or not, but the fact that that's even an argument just gives you enough reason to know that Draymond Green is
how important,
really important to that team.
Yeah.
And so I mean, he is a role player. If we're just being honest, he wouldn't take a team to the playoffs by himself. But he's a really, really good role player, and I think Brogdon is the same way. Where he's a guy who makes everything flow on that team. They could do it without him because they have so much other depth. But what he does for that team and what he's done for that team, as far as his efficiency and his all-around play and his all-team play, I think that makes him one of the top 2 role players, if you will. Role player is not a bad word. It's just
I agree.
And so completely. I think that's what they do in that regard.
Well, that's what makes championship teams. You know, exactly. a lot of teams now have stars, but you know, even like look at a team like the Thunder. You know, 2 at the very least top 15 players in the NBA.
Yeah.
And you know, they get whooped by.
They don't have a Brogdon or a
Green. Exactly. So I've never thought role player was, you know, I've always been very high on having role players like a Draymond Green or a Malcolm Brogdon, kind of like glue guys that do everything. They don't put up, you know, obviously Draymond puts up, you know, he has games where he puts up big numbers. But there are also games like where you feel like he's not even in the game, and then all of a sudden you look at the box score and he has like 16 rebounds and 9 assists and 2 steals and 3 blocks. So just my issue, I think I get so frustrated with Draymond like himself, because like he like makes his first basket of the game and he's like, I made a wide open shot, you know. So my issue is not obviously with this skill set. It's just more with Draymond being.
He's annoying.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, to put it simply. But yeah, I think I agree with everyone else on your list. I'm just going from, you know, trying my best from memory because, you know, I've had some technical issues.
Okay. No, yeah, you're good. Yeah. Last thing I want to say about that, I think that you absolutely nailed it when you said that role players win championships, because you have to have stars, but you also have to have guys who the stars can create for. You need off-ball guys. The championships are won off ball. When I think of off-ball players, you know, LeBron had Chris Bosh. You know, he was a good spot-up shooter and a good pick-and-roll guy. You know, in championships without a guy who can set screens like Chris Bosh was able to do. Ray Allen for the Celtics and for the Heat. Was a huge catch and shoot guy. Klay Thompson's a huge catch and shoot guy.
Even like
the Mavs won the 2011 championship, was a huge catch and shoot guy.
You
need a lot of off-ball guys to mesh with the on-ball guys.
The Shane Battiers and the Mike Millers of the world, for example, from the Heat teams.
Yeah, and Kevin Love even, as much as.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's a role. It was an important one.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Moving on to tier 4, I guess tier C, we can interchange those. My list is about as long as it was in this one. It's just one player short. But to define this list, I would use it's similar to the tier above it. But I would say if this player is your best player, you're probably tanking. If I'm just being honest. That doesn't mean they're a bad player. That just means that they shouldn't be your best player. And so if you put someone on this list on a winning team, they make the team better. But you don't want them to be by themselves. That's a tank formula. And so I'm going to go with I'll go ahead and list it out with starting with Mike Conley, who I really like. And I like all of these guys, actually. But Mike Conley, I've got John Wall, Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Eric Bledsoe, Jamal Murray, Zach LaVine, Buddy Hield, Brandon Ingram, Pascal Siakam, who just want to give a quick note on him. I think that he is my vote for most improved player of the year.
I agree 100%.
I've got Aaron Gordon, Danilo Gallinari, who I actually didn't realize was putting up as good of numbers as he is this season. So he's doing really well. Nevertheless, I wouldn't want him as my best player.
No.
Tier C guy. Julius Randle, Al Horford, Kevin Love, Yusuf Nurkic. I've got John Collins, DeAndre Ayton, and then the last four are Andre Drummond, Miles Turner, Steven Adams, and Clint Capella. All important guys. You need guys like that for the most part to win championships or to be a good team at least. But you don't want them as your best player. They're not the best player on their teams, and they shouldn't.
I agree. At least for right now, because I think there's a lot of younger guys in there that could potentially get up into the B and A range. I'm real high on Jamal Murray. I think we've talked about on here before even. I definitely think he's one of my top picks for budding stars. De'Aaron Fox obviously is like one of my top 5 players in the NBA.
Yeah.
Did you have something to...
No, I was just thinking. Well, I guess I do have something to say. I said no, but no, yeah. Mike Conley is someone that we're talking about the Celtics possibly wanting to trade for him. Kyrie's on, and that makes them relevant because they're a good team. As far as young players, I've got De'Aaron Fox, Trae Young.
Trae Young's another one. Yeah.
I'm really high on Miles Turner as far as defense goes, and who else? You mentioned some. I said De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield. Those are all guys
Buddy Hield.
Could be tier B guys. I think even De'Aaron Fox and other DeAndre Ayton could be higher than that even.
I agree.
But just right now, based on the season,
of course.
As of the last 2 seasons, I'm not high enough to put them in.
Oh no.
Luka Doncic and Devin Booker.
No.
But I completely agree with you. A lot of the list that I've spewed out and that you've spewed out is that it's players that it's not locked into that right now. And I honestly
for sure.
That's we can see that proven by guys like Kevin Love, who, even 2 seasons ago, or even last season, I would have put him in the list above it. But this season he didn't do well. He's also injured a lot. But you can move. This is not a lock.
Oh, I agree completely. I just
want to clarify that for anyone who's listening. But
for sure. My list. Definitely, I think I agree with everyone you said on there. Like you said, they're important guys, but obviously, if they're your best player at the moment, you're tanking. Besides maybe De'Aaron Fox, but they had like a bunch of like similar guys like that. So they got close to the playoffs,
and they're probably on their way up. I'm really, you're really high on the Kings.
I love the way they play. Like even just watching them as like a non-biased fan, it was just fun to watch. Running up and down, a lot of transition, and De'Aaron Fox is so fast.
I love De'Aaron Fox.
I love the way De'Aaron Fox plays. And I think we even kind of talked about this a little bit, translating, into Marvin Bagley having the better second half of the season that he did. As they continue to increase that tempo, it's not going to work against every team, obviously. I don't think they would want to play like that against someone like, the Warriors, for example, or someone like that. But I just think it's fun to watch. But, I have everyone – I could agree with everyone on that list. Like you said, they're guys that – you need on teams to continue to fill out the team. But if they're your best player, you're not going to be very good.
Yeah. And my tier 5, I'm not going to read it all because that would be super long. These last ones have honestly been pretty long too. But just name a few guys. I'm thinking guys like Harrison Barnes, Derrick Rose, Hassan Whiteside, anyone in that range. I've got guys like Jared Allen even. I think probably the worst player on the list is JJ Redick, and he's pretty good. He actually had 18 points a game this season, which I didn't realize. But guys that are good, just a little. I'd say they're just a notch lower than the guys that we mentioned. But I do want to talk to you about the Kings. How good do you think the Kings could be going forward?
Well, they're all fairly young, except Bogdanovic, who's 26 or 27. He's a European, so he's a little bit older.
European. If you're European, you're automatically older.
No, like he had to do the whole draft rights thing. He had to continue playing overseas or something like that. But yeah, I definitely I don't know if I'm higher on them than most people. I think I'm the highest out of the three of us, at least in terms of talking about them. I think they could at some point, if De'Aaron Fox continues to get better and Buddy Hield can add some sort of defensive ability and Bagley can continue to improve, I think they could be championship contenders.
You know, the team that I think of them similar to, like I think that they're similar to this team, just not as developed yet, is the Nuggets.
I agree.
Nuggets have been this team for the past 2-3 years that people about, they're coming.
Yep.
And I never bought it, and even this season, I didn't think they were going to be that good. And then it just clicked. And I think that the Kings could be that type of team where we see that they have the talent. They have, Marvin Bagley, Buddy Hield, and De'Aaron Fox is a good young core.
Yeah.
Even Cauley-Stein's a free agent, but even he was a decent.
Yeah, I agree.
And Harrison Barnes, they have a solid offense as starters. I think that really what we're waiting for them to do is just take that next step, at least a few of the players, and that chemistry with each other. And they might need to add a few more role players.
Veteran guys.
Guys, and probably shooters, just because that's the way the league is trending. But I don't talk about the Kings as much as you do, but I would probably say
I knew you were high for sure on De'Aaron Fox because me and you have talked about De'Aaron Fox before.
De'Aaron Fox, I'll put it to you this way. If you ever hear me say I wanted such and such on the Mavericks, that means that I really like that person because obviously you know how big of a Mavs fan I am. Anyone listening, y'all either know or will know short enough that I'm a big Mavs fan. And so when De'Aaron Fox, when we had the 9th pick, I was praying that some way,
you fell.
We were projected to be 7th, I'm pretty sure, that season. And I want to say we dropped. I could. No, never mind. Forget that. We were projected to be 9 and we stayed 9. But I wanted to move into the top 3 and pick De'Aaron Fox. I wanted him or Markelle Fultz, but I knew we weren't going to get Markelle Fultz. And I just wish that De'Aaron Fox would have fell.
Yeah.
But no, I've been really high on him since he was at Kentucky. He just loves the game. You can watch. You can tell watching him that he just loves playing basketball and he plays with that energy every single game.
Energy is I think the big thing because for me I feel like there are a lot of younger players now that I feel like I'm questioning their motor.
Yeah.
Their desire to play hard every single night.
Even sometimes make me think that.
Well, yeah. But we can get into the whole LeBron taking games off bull crap. But even a guy like Kyle Kuzma, who I think relatively could be in the CB range.
Yeah.
I just feel like there are some nights where I feel like watching him, I get so pissed off at him.
Yeah.
And even a guy like Brandon Ingram, Ian and I talked about on the second half of our show the other day about how kind of, impressed we were with the second half of his season. But for me, it's like, why weren't you playing like that when we were in playoff contention? So I think there are guys that can definitely continue to get to that next level. But for me, it's a lot of continuing to develop and motor energy.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. I agree. I will say the one C tier guy that I thought about moving up was Trae Young, because I think that last third of the season he was playing that type of guy.
Yeah.
But I think that on the whole of the season,
I agree.
His stats weren't all that impressive, other than point total.
Yeah.
His efficiency wasn't incredible, but I think that he's another one. I think that watch out in a few years. I think he'll be in that conversation. But I think that's all that we have today.
Yeah, that's it.
Anybody who is listening, thank you for listening and participating in our podcast. If you would like to follow us, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter. We are at Lunch Sports, capital L and capital S to begin sports. But please give us a follow. Please DM us any suggestions, anything that you want.
Yes.
You just want to DM us about, I don't know,
funny memes, everything. Our boy Kennedy had a great tweet about Steph and
yeah, we post memes occasionally.
Yeah.
If you want to follow us, go ahead and give us that follow. But we will be back in a few days. So thank you for listening. We'll see y'all later.